very warm welcome to Africa 360. We are the program that goes across the continent for news and views you won't get anywhere else, with a distinctly African perspective. I'm Chris Marilang, and do join me on Africa 360. This week on Africa 360, we continue to meet Africans who inspire us. In this episode, producer Lynsey Chutel talks to Ashish Thakkar, Africa's youngest billionaire. At 32, Ugandan Ashish Thakkar has turned the Mara Group into a thriving multinational corporation with a strong foundation in philanthropy and building the next generation of African mavericks. Join us as we learn how Thakkar went from high school dropout to maverick businessman.
Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Africa 360. I'm producer Lynsey Chutel, and today I have the privilege of talking to Africa's youngest billionaire, Ashish Thakkar. Ashish, thank you so much for joining us. So when people introduce you, it's usually, youngest billionaire, Africa's youngest billionaire, and yet when you introduce yourself, you call yourself a high school dropout. How does the one become the other?
I think I'm more of a high school dropout than I am Africa's youngest billionaire. I think the title of wealth it's just not the right title. I think success should never be measured by wealth. I think it needs to be measured about, around how much impact you're making, how much of a difference you're making. So I definitely prefer the high school dropout.
And so when your journey began quite young. You were 15 years old, and where other teenagers saw a PC to play with, you saw an opportunity. Tell us about that.
My family were refugees during the Rwanda genocide, and in '94, we lost everything. So it was one of those circumstances where I felt like I wanted to do something about it, and I needed to do something about it. So, I loved computers, and all of a sudden the opportunity kind of presented itself where I could kind of make a bit of money on it. So I took advantage of that. But it was a passion. I loved entrepreneurship. I felt like I wanted to do something and help my family. So I think a combination of all those things kind of fit in, and that enabled me to kind of start off. And obviously when I was 15 years old, it's very difficult for people to take you seriously. So I used to obviously shave a lot more just to kind of look older. I used to try and put on a deeper voice than I actually had, and things like that, because unfortunately it's still a perception thing. But it's been a fun journey.
Mm-hmm. And when you started your business, you essentially started in Dubai as well, and yet your focus was always Africa. How did you convince suppliers to think that Africa was the next opportunity in the 1990s already?
So in that case, being a Dubai company enabled me to get that credit. As an African company, I just wasn't able to get it at that time. So we had to set up in Dubai in order to get that credit, but also at the same time, Dubai actually became a very strategic hub for Africa. It's very centrally located in terms of, you can access West Africa, East Africa, and Southern Africa very easily. At the same time, it's, visa-wise, I can get my people from the 19 countries in Africa where Mara has its offices into Dubai very easily. I can get my people from Dubai to go into these countries very easily because there's representation of all consulates, etc. So I think Dubai is the UAE is a fantastic hub for Africa.
So how did a teenager from Kampala set up a business in Dubai?
So I was buying goods from Dubai. So I would fly there every weekend, fill my suitcase, come back and sell Monday to Friday, get that cash, go back on a weekend. And I did that for 4 months and realized that as an African business, I wasn't going to get that credit. So therefore, the only way that I could get credit was to set up in Dubai. So really I had to more than I wanted to. And that really helped, And that's why certain challenges kind of present themselves. But it really comes up with a massive opportunity thereafter. As long as you look at it positively and take it as it comes and actually make it happen, I think those are the core fundamentals.
And when you built your business and you found new customers, they were often African customers. Mm-hmm. How did you do that, and why the focus on Africa still?
My family is African, right? I'm fourth generation African. My family's been in Africa since 1890. So as I said, I'm fourth generation. So Africa's always been my passion. It's always been my dream. In 1972, my family got kicked out. In 1994, we were refugees during the genocide. And we're still very patriotic and very passionate about the continent. Mm-hmm. So I think, again, it was, these other African businesses, such as mine in Uganda, wasn't getting credit. All these guys in Nigeria, Ghana, Tanzania, Zambia, etc., weren't getting credit either. But I understood them, and I understood the opportunities. So I started traveling to those countries, getting to know these individuals and giving them credit. So I think that's what greatly helped and enabled me to, and enabled Mara to truly become an African business.
How did you build that trust relationship with your debtors?
It's a very gut feel thing. You kind of get that feeling on whether you trust someone or not pretty quickly. But it was also spending time with them, getting to know their families, really understanding them. And the little values that they hold really matter, because somebody's personal values always reflect in their business. And that was a very core issue for me. So more than, how big is their business and how this and that and the other, it was more about them as an individual. And if their principles and ethics and values were right, you enjoy doing business.
And then when you were 15, what sparked the decision to leave school and start your own business?
So I had my 2 months holiday. And I basically set up this little shop with an agreement with my parents that after 2 months I'll go back to school. The 2 months holiday finished. I didn't tell my parents conveniently. They found out very quickly that obviously school started. So we sat down and I told them, I was like, look, if you want me to go through this cycle, I'll do it. But my passion lies in running this business. So if you want me to go through the necessary formalities and get that education thing and tick that box, etc., I'll go through the necessary formalities, but I'm going to end up doing this. So I'd appreciate if you let me do it now. And they were really awesome, and they let me do that, but on the condition that I do it for a year. Doesn't work out, I go back a year below my friends. And I've still got that option after 17 years.
And that taking that leap and taking that risk, how do you rationalize that?
The true definition of entrepreneurship is risk taker, right? So I think risk is always going to be a part of it. How you mitigate it, how you minimize it is key. So how you think about all the worst case scenarios that could take place in that business, all of those kind of factors. I think when you go into a business, passion is extremely important, but at the same time, then understanding how you can avoid the downside, and if you were to face a worst case scenario, how you would get out of it. So we're always positive and excited when we're going into a business, but I think it's very important to think about the downsides and the worst case scenarios. So I think, keeping that in mind, you kind of go in, but at the end of the day, there's always a risk. But hard work, perseverance, honesty, and all of these things make a huge difference in that success path.
You're still quite positive about Africa, and yet your family was in the forefront of so many important historical moments. Idi Amin in Uganda, 1994 genocide in Rwanda. How do you stay so positive about Africa, and how did those events personally affect you?
Those events weren't directed towards my family, right? The country suffered, the people suffered, our people suffered. So I think it's there's a bigger picture in this. You can't narrow down a particular issue on you as an individual. It's a general thing, and therefore I am me, my family, and Mara are extremely passionate and patriotic about Africa. We are the next big thing. Mara means lion in a local dialect in East Africa, and it's also a region in Tanzania where my mother's born. And our logo is the African lion. And my little joke, which I love saying and not many people appreciate, which is why I like it even more, is that the Indian tiger and the Chinese dragon have had their days. It's now the African lion's turn. And I truly believe that. I think it's now our turn as a continent. The only thing is, people cannot misunderstand us as a country. We're not a country, we're a continent. As Sub-Saharan Africa, we're 46 different countries. That means 46 different cultures, histories, politics, parliaments, mindsets, politicians. It's a complete different thing. You can't copy and paste a strategy or a structure in all our countries. So as long as you're sensitive of the local sensitivities and culture, etc., then you can succeed in these markets. And I think it's a matter of being truly local, but operating in a global manner. So not taking advantage that the market may not have competition, so you can do whatever and it'll fly. Don't do that. Thinking of a long-term thing, do it properly. Don't cut corners. So being global, but truly local. I think the combination is key.
Okay. Stay with us. This is after the break. We ask Ashish still why he's so optimistic about Africa this time.
We as Africans are very lucky that we're in the right place at the right time. It's our turn now. This is truly our turn.
Welcome back. I'm Lynsey Chutel and this is Africa 360. Today we're looking at Africa as the new growth path for success for the world, and we're looking at it through the perspective of Africa's youngest billionaire and entrepreneur, Ashish Thakkar. Ashish, so the Mara Group, from selling your second-hand personal computer to starting a multinational company, the Mara Group has just grown exponentially. How did you do it?
I think it was a step-by-step process. You know, I think it was very opportunistic. You needed to be very entrepreneurial. You need to be very determined, very focused. I had an ambition, but frankly, if you ask me, did I know where Mara was going in the next 3 to 5 years? I didn't at that time, because we were very opportunistic. And I think that was very important in succeeding. But it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, this is not an easy thing. If anybody tells you entrepreneurship is easy, they're lying to you. You know, it's a challenge. And you will constantly get knocked down. I've had so many challenges throughout, and you still do it of different sorts. But you got to get up, you got to dust yourself off, you got to get back to it. And I think that's the key thing. You got to be determined. So I think that's what really drove Mara to become truly a Pan-African conglomerate in the multi countries and the multiple sectors that we're in.
What's the most difficult challenge you've had to deal with so far?
You know, there's so many different types, but obviously, you know, when you're starting off, access to finance is always a challenge, right? Getting that trust factor in, trusting people and being let down, right? And therefore, this is why I keep on emphasizing, you know, I've been lucky with my spiritual leader, Moray Bapu, who kind of gives me that core fundamental of truth, love, and compassion as a core basis. I think it's very important for people to have the right ethics and the values. They'll enjoy doing business more. And, you know, positivity attracts positivity. Honesty attracts honesty. And I think that's very important. But those are challenges that you face constantly. But that's the opportunity.
Can you think of one particular incident where you felt like your ethics were really being questioned?
One particular thing that happened to me, which, you know, I think somebody else's ethics actually knocked me back, was, you know, when I was running this shop in the first year, I had somebody come, and a European guy came, and he gave me a very large order. And he was from a water rehabilitation project, and he had a 4-wheel drive, he had a mobile phone, and this was in 96, 97. And, you know, he gave me a large order, I loaded the goods, he gave me his company check, I banked it, and the company didn't exist. So it was a stolen check, it was all a farce, and I lost almost half my capital.
How old were you at the time?
16. So that really knocked me back. And it was one of those cases where, do I still continue, or do I go back to school? Maybe this is a sign. And I think when you still realize that, you know, you got to make this happen. This is the dream, this is the passion, you got to make it happen. So you get up and do it again. And then there's opportunities where, you know, you kind of face circumstances where you can cut corners and just do things in a haphazard way. And luckily we didn't. And because we didn't do that, you know, having a clean slate makes life so much easier, because you don't have any skeletons in your closet, so you can actually do business in a proper manner. And I think those little things make a huge difference.
But even with that, I'm sure that it still comes with a bit of rejection. How do you cope with that?
Rejection is a constant thing, right? You always get rejected, and in different ways. You know, at that time it's from the smallest way, and today it's in a larger way. But rejection's a constant thing. But I don't have ego. I don't have pride, right? In the sense that I'm not going to kind of be arrogant towards something, and, you know, if I need to wait for somebody for a few hours, I will do so if I need to get something done, right? So I think that's important. And this whole thing of arrogance and ego and having an ego war and trying to compete with the person next to you and trying to show who's smarter, and it doesn't work. You need to be in your own space. You need to be authentic, truly authentic, and be yourself. You need to be comfortable in your own skin. I think that's very important.
So how does your spirituality then inform your business practices?
I think it's a huge part. What Moray Bapu teaches, you know, truth, love, compassion. 3 very simple words, but are so profound, so deep. And as an individual, as a family, and as a group, we try and live with those core fundamentals of truth, love, and compassion. And it really helps us. And we have more fun. We enjoy it more. It's more positive, and it's an exciting time. And as Africa, you know, we're going through an amazing transformation. So I think we as Africans are very lucky that we're in the right place at the right time. It's our turn now. This is truly our turn. So how we make the most of it is up to us. We can keep on bickering and complaining about what's not there and what's there and this and that and the other, but it's not directed towards us as an individual. It's the entire market. So everybody has that same challenge. Be it tax, be it road toll systems, whatever the case may be, it's the entire market that's facing that. So therefore, everybody has that level playing field, which you can really build off. So I think it's a matter of finding an opportunity in all those challenges and still being determined and making it happen. You've got to make your dreams come true. And if you don't dream, you've got to think big, you've got to dream. But at the same time, you've got to be practical and start small. And I think that's very important, that, dream, you want to employ 1,000 people, that's great, but start off with one and keep on growing. So, think big, start small.
So the Mara Group continues to grow. You started with IT, you've now gone into tourism, retail, even manufacturing. Why is a diversified portfolio so important to you?
We're very opportunistic, and as Mara, we have four core fundamentals, right? And one is, whatever we do must have a positive social impact on the country and the people. Second thing is, whatever we do must be Pan-African. Third, it must be game-changing, right? So it's a bit of a vague term, but we like to do things slightly differently. And fourthly, everything we do is above board, and therefore we brand it Mara. So everything is Mara branded. So those are the four core fundamentals as well.
Stay tuned with us as we find out how Ashish turns from entrepreneur to a philanthropist. Stay with us.
Be different, be crazy, almost crazy. I think you've got to be different, and you've got to be authentic. Look, I wear jeans everywhere I go because I believe in being myself.
Welcome back. I'm Lynsey Chutel, and you're with Africa 360, and we have the pleasure of picking the brain of one of Africa's most enterprising entrepreneurs, Ashish Thakkar. So, Ashish, you've placed quite a bit of emphasis on giving back, and quite a bit of the Mara Group is the Mara Foundation. Tell us more about that.
So Mara Foundation started 4 years ago. And it's very personal to us, and we're very passionate about it. Being 15 years old, starting with very little capital and no ability to network, I realized that there's an opportunity that, we've got such a huge young population. We've got such a huge unemployment issue. And unfortunately, I felt like governments were focused on foreign direct investment or large investments to kind of solve the whole unemployment issue. That's not the solution. The solution in this is going to be nurturing these small and medium enterprises. That's why we started the Mara Foundation. So our core focus is entrepreneurship for young entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs. And it's how do you enable them, empower them, and inspire them. So we have a mentorship platform, which is live today, is mentor.mara.com, and it's going to be launched as an app within the next few weeks. So that's going to be very exciting, where we provide advice, hand-holding, guidance, support to entrepreneurs, young and women entrepreneurs. And then we're looking at setting up some venture capital funds across the continent, which we'll do as round 2 once the mentorship platform is really set.
Why is mentorship so important to you?
I think mentorship is key because, everybody needs guidance and advice. A lot of our youth, their parents are either civil servants or they're farmers. Who do they turn to for advice on entrepreneurship? They can't just walk up to you on the street and ask you a question. So who do they turn to? And unfortunately, it's not in our formal education system, etc. So how do we actually go about it? So I think that's where we see an opportunity where you give them the ability over their mobile handset for free to interact with people and ask questions, get answers, get advice, get training, all for free through Mara Foundation.
You're also quite excited about online. Tell us about Mara Online.
Mara Online belongs to Mara Foundation. It's an online technology company, so it's a tech startup in the true sense. And it's creating our first proper instant messaging service, which is called Mara Messenger. And it's going to create a mobile wallet, which is going to be Mara Pay. So these two elements are going to be the backbone for Mara Mentor. And really what that does is Mara Mentor has regional debate rooms, sectorial debate rooms. So there's going to be entrepreneurs across the continent. We have entrepreneurs from 22 countries in Africa today. But the messenger element gives them the ability to communicate with each other. And the payment element allows them to, basically transact and do JVs or buy and sell from each other. So really this, Mara Online with Mara Mentor enables commerce across the continent. And I think that's the next big thing. So I'm very, very excited about what these two organizations are going to do together.
You're excited, and quite a bit of analysts are excited. In fact, we're calling this the time of Africa Rising. But how do we turn that notion and that narrative to something tangible that everybody experiences?
By being practical. right? By not theoretically looking at the whole thing, especially as South Africa. As South Africa, we really need to kind of get, I mean, sometimes we kind of criticize the external world of generalizing Africa.
Yeah.
But I went to a meeting in a large organization here recently, and somebody said to me, so when did you get in from Africa? And I was like, well, I'm still in Africa, right? So I think we need to kind of change this mindset that, it's a continent, and we're all very patriotic as Africans, which is great. But we still are 46 different mindsets, cultures, histories. And I think it's a matter of being practical, but truly trying to become Pan-African. And to entrepreneurs out there, especially the young and women entrepreneurs who are, scaling up now, they should look at doing partnerships with other people in other markets, because that gives them the local element and it gives them their subject matter expertise. And I think that's the way you can grow, which is very important.
So how do we build those networks and those partnerships within Africa?
Through Mara Mentor. Mara Mentor and Mara Online is the solution. No, I think it's going to be a great platform to do that, and I hope there'll be many other platforms that will come up of a similar nature. Okay,
so you travel about 25 days in the month,
that's right.
And you've now added another destination, outer space. So what is it like traveling to the final frontier, and what's it like to call yourself an astronaut?
It's very exciting. I've been a founder at Virgin Galactic for the last 7 years, a founder astronaut, and representing Africa is really cool. I mean, I'm going to be Africa's second astronaut, which is super exciting. And I think more than anything, it's a way to give the world a message that we as Africa have the vision and ability as well, right? So it's a fun initiative. I love the adrenaline. And I think it'll give us the opportunity to create a nice positive buzz around our continent. So it's going to be cool.
So you're only 32 and you've done so much. What now? Where to now?
Frankly, I think as Mara, we're just getting started, right? I think we're still scratching the surface. I think now is when the fun begins, right? I think 17 years has been to kind of lay this foundation. And now it's a matter of how we build up off it. So I think it's going to be very exciting. So I think Mara is going to go through an amazing transformation. So it's going to be fun.
And what do you say to young entrepreneurs who are watching you and think, wow, I want to be the next Ashish Thakkar?
I would say hard work, honesty, dedication, focus, passionate about what you believe in, and just truly making it happen is the key thing. Understanding where your weaknesses are and strengthening them by bringing other people to the table. I think that's the combination that's going to be the key to success.
So now you have so many labels. You have refugee, high school dropout, entrepreneur, philanthropist, astronaut. How do we encourage more mavericks like you?
Be different, be crazy, almost crazy. I think you got to be different and you got to be authentic. Look, I mean, I wear jeans everywhere I go. Because I believe in being myself, right? I think it's important to be yourself, but mean what you do and spread the love. I think, positive things attract positive things. So.
Okay. As Ashish builds even more positive platforms and as his business continues to grow, we at Africa 360 will certainly be watching him. And thank you for watching this week. Goodbye.
That was our producer, Lynsey Chutel, there getting to know pioneering entrepreneur and Africa's youngest billionaire, Ashish Thakkar. Would like to thank Ashish for making time for Africa 360 out of his busy schedule so that we could bring you that interview. Do tell us what you think when you like our Facebook page or tweet us at A360_ENCA. You can also always send us an email at africa360@enca.com. So until next time, we look forward to bringing you Africa like you've never seen it before. Do take care.